Petrol prices goes up by 10 rupees per liter. Do you stop driving your bike to work? Probably not. You grumble, you pay, but you drive. Now imagine your favorite restaurant raises price of a biryani from 200 rupees to 400 rupees. Do you still order it every week? Maybe not. You cook at home, you find a cheaper place, you skip it. Same concept. Price went up in both cases, but your behavior changed completely, and that too differently. That difference has a name in economics. It is called elasticity of demand. And once you understand this, you will understand why government taxes cigarettes so heavily and why Apple can charge whatever it wants and why your petrol price never seems to go down even when crude oil falls. So the simple idea here is when price of something goes up, two things can happen. Either people stop buying, quantity falls a lot, or people still buy, wherein quantity barely changes. So demand is not sensitive to price in case of inelastic demand. And when demand is sensitive to price, it is called as elastic demand. That is entire concept. Now let me make it real. Think about eating out at a restaurant. If your favorite place doubles the price, you start cooking at home more often. Demand fell sharply when price rose, inelastic. Think about a foreign holiday. If flight tickets double, many people will cancel their flights. Many people will cancel their flights or the trip or choose a domestic destination instead. Elastic, right? Think about buying a new TV. If prices rise by 30%, you decide your old one is fine for one more year. Again, elastic. When all these things have in common that is that they are not essential. You can delay them, you can substitute them, you have a choice. Now let us come to inelastic demand. So now think about insulin in case you are diabetic. The price doubles. Do you stop taking insulin? Absolutely not. You find the money somehow because without it you could die. Perfectly inelastic. Think about petrol for your bike. Your commute to work is not optional. You need petrol. Even if price rises by 15%, you still somehow buy it. Maybe you grumble, maybe you take flightly few unnecessary trips, but broadly you keep buying inelastic. Think about onions. Indians cannot cook without onions. And when onion prices tripled a few years ago, people were shocked and angry, but they still somehow bought onions. They just bought slightly less, relatively inelastic. So, what these things have in common is that they are necessary. There is no substitute. You cannot delay or skip them. And now, why does this happen? So, a product becomes inelastic for three main reasons. First, there is no substitute that exists in the market. Petrol is petrol, there is nothing else that can run your bike right now. So, you buy it regardless of the price. Second, it is a necessity, not a luxury. Medicine, electricity, water, food staples. You cannot choose not to consume these. Prices does not change the reality. Third, addiction or deeply ingrained habit. For example, cigarettes. They are a classic example. Governments have raised cigarette taxes dramatically over the decades. People still buy them. The habit is stronger than the price signal. Now, why does companies and government care about this? And this is where it gets interesting. So, if you're a company selling an inelastic product, you have something called the pricing power. You can raise prices without losing customers. Your profits go up. Think about pharmaceutical companies, think about Apple, think about fuel companies. They sell you things you need. They can charge more. So, if you are a company selling an elastic product, you are in a tough situation. Raise prices even slightly, and your customers run to your competitor. You are stuck in a price war forever. Think about budget airlines, think about commodity retailers. One player drops the price, and everyone has to follow. Now think about government. Government needs tax revenue. Where do they get it from most efficiently? From inelastic products, right? Tax petrol, people still buy petrol. Tax cigarettes, people still smoke. Tax alcohol, people still drink. These are called sin taxes or excise duties. The government knows the demand will not collapse, so revenue is guaranteed. India taxes petrol and diesel heavily for exactly this reason, and almost half of what you pay to the pump is taxes. Now let's actually open the today's Financial Express that is dated 2 June 2026. So, for example, let me give you an example from today's newspaper itself. So, car sales in India, they have jumped 26% in May. This has surprised everyone because petrol and diesels are at record high prices due to the West Asia war. But what actually should not surprise anyone who understands inelastic demand is cars in India have become a mere necessity for the middle class. In most Indian cities, public transport is unreliable or just non existent. You need a vehicle to get to your work, to take your children to school, to carry groceries home. So, even when the petrol is expensive, people will still buy a car. The demand for cars in India has become relatively inelastic because the product has crossed from luxury to necessity for a large segment of buyers. This also explains why Maruti continues to dominate. Their small, affordable cars are bought by people for whom a car is not a status symbol, it is a tool. Tools have inelastic demand. And almost there's one another real world example that's just from today's paper. That's just the opposite. That says that in US this month, airfare prices rose from about 2.8%. So immediately, some Americans started taking trains, driving, or simply skipping trips. Air travel demand is relatively elastic because substitutes exist: train, bus, car, and simply not traveling. Compare that to petrol, where people complain but still buy. Same product category of transport, very different elasticity. Because the substitute for air for your daily commute, petrol, often does not exist. So, what are the key takeaways? So, here is the honest version. Nothing in the real world is perfectly elastic or perfectly inelastic, even for insulin or for your restaurant biryani. So, the concept is really about spectrum. Where does your product sit at the spectrum? That determines your pricing power, your customer loyalty, and how you should build your business. So, the next time petrol prices keep rising and everyone keeps buying anyway, you know exactly why that happens. That is inelastic demand. And the next time your favorite restaurant raises the price, you know where if you switch to a cheaper place or whatever, you know the reason why. It is an elastic demand. So elasticity is not just economics book concept, it is a inevitable force that decides where businesses thrive, companies or government policies work. Some product can charge whatever they want while some are still stuck in the price war forever.